All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to do some pattern brainstorming. So this is a pattern, is an image that or line that repeats to fill the space. We're going to use this to fill the space of the frame around our tree of life. So we want to make sure that we are thinking about this as something that will help us fill up some of the spaces in our artwork. Now, patterns can reflect culture through textile and other goods. So in cultures, you will find certain patterns repeat and show up throughout their goods. So with that, we are going to be talking about that homework that we had the other night. Because the first question you will notice is, what cultures show up in your family tree? Where is your family from? So, although we are all Americans in this room at this point, a lot of America is a melting pot. So with that, lots of us have more than one thing in our background. So don't just write American here, because that doesn't help us any. Unless, of course, like me, you have some Native American in you, because one of my things is that I have some Cherokee in my family tree. I also am Irish, which means I have some Celtic. My mom is French Canadian. No, I just killed that word. And I have some German in my family tree. I have a little bit more of other stuff, but those are kind of the four big major pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 of those and I'm going to move them down here. So I'm going to move this to Celtic. I'm going to make this Cherokee. And I'm going to make this French. So you kind of list up here, even if you don't fill up all these lines for this particular worksheet, that's okay. Try to get at least 3 different cultures. Most of us have at least a couple different cultures in our family tree. Then, once you've got that, you are going to, I'll zoom this in a little bit more to make it a little easier for you to see. You are going to research for patterns from that culture. That means you're not just going to make these up from your head. You need to actually research. Now, over on the edge of the room, on the windowsill, I have some books that look like this. So for my Celtic, I found my Celtic book. I don't have a book for every culture, so you may end up doing some internet research, and I'll go over that in just a minute. But if I have one of these books, you can kind of go through here and find a pattern that you kind of like and draw at least a piece of it. So for this, I'm going to take this kind of curly Q and draw that there. And then, because see, that curly Q shows up a lot, kind of like this one. So I'm going to, so this is, I've got this here, and then it has one like that ties this way, and then I've got one that goes from here out, and then from here out, and then this, that, and then there's another one that comes like this. So just, you're not drawing the entire thing, you're just drawing a little bit of it so you kind of understand how that pattern works. And then, let's do one of these knotworks. So I'm looking at this here. And we've got, this kind of shows up here. And then there's some holes, and then in here comes another piece. I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me do this whole thing, but you get the idea. So you're going to copy several of these patterns into this research. Then what you're going to do is take some of those patterns and put them into the corner. This is like one corner of a frame. So I could take and make, and you can kind of combine them, make them your own a little bit. So if I take this guy here, and maybe I kind of have this where it kind of comes off it. And then this, I got one that kind of comes off it this way. Now you can play with this a little bit until you come up with something that you like. So then I want to make sure you're thinking about more than just the corner, because you're going to have to fill up an entire frame with this thing. And then this, we go here, and then maybe I do some of this where this piece goes over. Make sure if your pattern overlaps itself that you're erasing the lines where it overlaps, or you're drawing underneath things. And then get yourself a pattern that you kind of like. So you're going to fill up that area of the frame with a pattern that is either one or more than one of your researched for. Then, when you're going to research on the iPads, alright, so what I did was I looked up, if you go back, I looked up Cherokee patterns. I did not just go to Google image search because I'm not sure if any of these patterns are actually Cherokee. So you've got to kind of go down and find to make sure, like this one's traditional belief system. So this is an actual good website because it's about the Cherokee Nation. And then this, I think, was the one I went to. This one's a university website. And it's a page that talks about Cherokee traditions. And then it's got a bunch of their weaving patterns. So patterns, especially when you're looking them up, not in my books, you might find them in textiles, you might find them in weavings, you might find them in pottery. And then you can kind of find one of these patterns, or a few of these patterns that you kind of like. So I draw this and kind of sketch them. In here. And then they've got this one here that has that same square, but then it has other squares inside it. And then it's got a little dot in the middle. Let's see. I kind of like that one. So this one kind of goes. Now it might take you a second to figure out how some of these patterns are created. And that's okay. This part might take you a little bit. So that goes there, and then there's an extra one there. So just draw that little piece of that pattern. Then you can take some of those patterns. So maybe I take this, stick it in the corner. Now, unlike a lot of the stuff we do in our sketchbook, this particular thing you might not end up taking exactly as it is into your final. But you want to kind of think about and play with how can I fit these patterns together? How can I alter them and change them to make them fill up the space? Hold on, let me move this out of the way so you guys can see that a little bit better. So now you can see what I was kind of drawing because it was kind of hard to see before. So you're going to make sure to fill all of these boxes with 4 researched patterns. You're then going to combine or fill these corners of the paper with this.